So we had a really cool day today. Dre and I went down to, what was it, Senator Flake's
Senator
office.
Flake's and John McCain's office.
Yeah, because in case you're not here over in Arizona, they are completely right across from each other on Camelback Road.
Camelback and between 22nd and 24th Street.
And today they had a die-in, which is a sign of protest where they show the health care bill and what it actually does to people, so they pretend to be dead, considering what Trump is trying to push, which is his Trumpcare bill, again trying to do another replace and repeal of Obamacare. So the protesters were out in full force today.
And what was so interesting is we got to meet people that are directly and would be directly impacted regarding this bill that do have pre-existing conditions or have loved ones with pre-existing conditions. I mean, pretty much, how many Americans really either are touched by somebody that has a pre-existing condition and won't be affected by this healthcare bill?
So what we did was we interviewed a few of these people, and if you look at the video right now, we're going to check it out and see what the concerns of the people are about the new Trumpcare bill, which is, I guess, called Graham-Cassidy. It's actually a longer name, but the Graham-Cassidy bill right now. So
this
check
is
it
Zod
out.
with the Zod and Drea podcast, and I am speaking with
MARYBETH McGowan.
All right, MARYBETH. So what brings you here in order to protest against, Jeff Flake and his decision to try to pass Trumpcare, or at least vote for it?
I don't think of it so much as protesting. I think that I first came here to applaud Senator McCain and tell him he's my senator. I'm glad the Maverick is back. I'm very proud of him, very grateful to him. And I also came to ask Senator Flake to please follow his senior senator and take a long look at this bill and realize that it really requires a lot of cups of coffee, handshakes across the aisle, a lot of discussion. There's no reason to rush. I've taken more time to plan a tattoo than he's trying to take on this bill.
You're absolutely right. The fact is that this bill was pretty much put together in the dark and pretty rapidly. I think it's, the 60th attempt or something close for them to try to repeal and replace the Obamacare Act. So what would be your opinion about Jeff Flake? Okay, this is going to be a good one. So what would be your opinion about Jeff Flake trying to, filibuster against his own Republican senators, so such as McCloskey, who hasn't yet come against it, but she came against it the last time, but also Senator Collins of Maine, who has said no. I don't know if you heard, but recently she just said no. So what do you think Senator Flake should do? Should he follow their example and listen to it a little bit, or do you think that he's also ignoring the rights of women by moving forward with this?
I think that he has not got respect for the rights of women and families. He thinks that every child deserves a life. He just doesn't really care what the quality of that life is, and I resent that. And so I do ask him again, take a deep breath, several deep breaths, take several steps back, and let's take our time.
Right, because I had to ask that because I saw that I stand with Planned Parenthood, and I know that some of the things that are in the Trump Care Act don't really support women in the contraceptive methods, and it's going to be a big push, of course, with our senators that come out in for re-election in 2018. What do you think that the Republican Party should do in order to cull together a group of their more moderate senators and constituents in order to come across the aisle with the Democrats and some of the more liberal ones in order to come across a plan that would be more respectful to all people instead of just some? What do you think that they should do about that?
I think that the Republican Party could take a look at their colleagues and throw out whether or not they're Republicans or Democrats, because I tell you what, my son with autism is not a Republican and he's not a Democrat. He's a young man with autism who wants to have a full independent life, and he can as long as his access and Medicaid services continue. And I think that the American people would rather see my son succeed as an independent man and care for himself when I'm gone, rather than watch him be on doles that don't even exist.
Excellent points, and I thank you for your answers.
Thank you, sir.
All right, what's your name and what brings you here?
My name is Sean. I go by Captain's Log on Twitter, and here with everybody else trying to save our care, make sure it happens. Just found out Susan Collins voted no as well, or whatever, to where we have 3 with Rand Paul and Senator John McCain. So hoping Murkowski will come next and everything just to seal the deal.
So that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that Murkowski will come through. Her constituents are helping, helping her try to get, push for that. But we're also hoping that her push will also go towards the country, because her vote will matter with all the people with pre-existing conditions. So what do you think today will do for people when they see it with pre-existing conditions? Do you think they'll be a little bit more hopeful that this Trumpcare bill will not pass?
Yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. Anything can happen with the GOP. They are masters at throwing the curveball of deception and corruption and yada, yada, yada. They're just pros at it. What we got to do right now is, if Murkowski also does, I think other senators will step forward that were already iffy on it or whatever, could start trending and everything like that or whatever. All they have to do is listen to their constituents, and the answer is pretty easy.
And exactly. So as we know, last time Rand Paul was saying no, 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 but he wound up voting yes for it. And just like you said, we're not quite out of the woods yet. Now, the Democrats are holding tight about this bill because they know what's in it and what will happen to 32 million people with their health care, as well as the people with pre-existing conditions. Do you think that in your heart you can find a way that the Republicans will be able to pull this through and get some of the other people to make sure that they flip and vote no? If so, what do you think will be the benefit if they do?
If they do what?
If they actually flip the other Republicans to say no.
Like I said, I think a lot of senators are now standing against Trump and starting to divide the party line. They're not towing, they're not bowing down, they're not kissing the ring anymore. So hopefully that continues to happen. Once that does, we can begin the bipartisan efforts that the country as a whole wants to see. Well, most of them, except for like the 30%.
No doubt. And what is it in Trump care that you feel is the one thing that you would like to completely eliminate out of it?
Pre-existing conditions is a good one. This is the 5th time they've tried to pass this different form of the bill or whatever, and every one of them gets rid of Medicaid spending for Medicaid, Medicare, and pre-existing conditions is just going to cost you to where you can't afford to live. So that would be it.
Now, do you have a personal stake in this as a health care bill? Do you have a personal stake? And if so, what do you think that is?
My wife has had 2 open heart surgeries, and she now has like chronic back pain and everything going like that. So she is a pre-existing condition, which forces us to keep our jobs even at my job's not going to see this, right? But it forces us to stay at our jobs. I'm working for less money right now to receive medical insurance, and that's basically the summary of it. If I wasn't bound by that or whatever, if I had better options, then I'd probably be doing something I love right now.
That's a realistic statement from probably most of the Americans out here who are depending on good health care. And I'm going to ask you one last question. Obviously, universal health care has been brought up. Single payer has been brought up. I mean, there's certain things that work in Canada and Europe that Americans seem to not want to follow through, saying that Americans want to pay for health care. Americans don't want each person to have to deal with a situation. I mean, it seems like paying extra taxes would be a good thing to go right into our healthcare system so we don't have to wait long lines. What do you think would be a better system, the ones that they have in Canada or where capitalists pretty much benefit over here in the United States?
There it is. I'm all for paying taxes if it gets everybody coverage. Everybody pays their share on how much money they make. Just, typical basic rules. The other thing is we're going to have to start putting more restrictions on big pharma and everything like that for the outrageous, like $700 for a bottle of Tylenol at times and everything like that. So it's hard for other people to want to pay for it when these people are already charging these outrageous prices and everything like that. So it's got to be a 2-step thing. It's got to be against big pharma, and we all have to pay our share.
That's it, Captain's Log. Thanks. Could you give us your Twitter handle so that people can follow?
Captain's Log 2017.
Thank you.
Hey, have a great day, guys.
Hi, what's your name and what brings you here?
My name is BRIANNA HUEY, and I'm actually here just in support of my 2 children and myself. All 3 of us have health issues, and my son and daughter actually have pre-existing health issues. And so the Trump care is a big deal for us.
No, exactly. And for somebody with pre-existing conditions, it's an even bigger deal because they're trying to make it where each state gets to decide pretty much what they want to do. So if your condition isn't covered in this state, then you may have to go to Ohio or somewhere in order to get covered, which isn't fair. What message would you want to tell Jeff Flake, considering he's not listening to constituents like you?
Actually, it's funny because I've actually spoken to Jeff Flake before, and his message was that God hasn't forgotten about my two children, and that if I needed anything, to let him and his office know. And the ironic thing is, yeah, he's nowhere to be found. So still no listening.
So considering he's not listening to the people that he's supposed to represent, why, in your opinion, do you think he is voting for this Trumpcare bill?
Honestly, I think it's because it's not him. He doesn't have to live in everyday life of people that have sickly children, people that have health issues themselves. So he's not able to relate. So therefore, it really doesn't affect him as much as it would us ordinary, everyday people who have chronic, health issues, have chronic sickly children in and out of hospital, doctor's appointments, therapy. So, it doesn't really affect them. So therefore, it's kind of like as if, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So.
In other words, he doesn't get affected by it, especially since the Congress health care is really good and they're covered for life, so they don't really see what you're seeing. So if you had one message or one thing that you'd like to just tell Jeff Flake right in his face right now, what would it be?
Wake up and get your act together, because there are, not only just adults, but it's kids that are going to be severely affected by this bill. And to stop being so selfish, because if it was your child, you want someone to do the same thing for you and your family.
Excellent. Thank you.